1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 35.
We're going to be going now. We're getting into a little bit the intricacies of how a marriage should operate, what each person's jobs are, whatever the case might be. Go ahead.
Let your women keep silent in the churches, for it is not permitted for them to speak, but they are commanded to be under obedience, as also saith the law. Verse 35. And if they shall learn anything, let them ask their husbands at home, for it is a shame for women to speak in the church.
Now, a lot of the times these scriptures are viewed negatively by women, right? There's a particular reason for this standard within the law, right? There's a particular reason that this exists, right? This does not have anything to do with the scriptures or the law being against women. Right. And we're going to see why here in a second. The man's position in his household since Adam and Eve, this is from the beginning, the first marriage, was to teach his wife not only the understandings of the scriptures, but also the nature of life and business. Right. So the reason is that the reason that women were not permitted to speak in the church was due to the fact that this was the place of men to learn. This was a place where men were supposed to learn. We learned in the churches and in the synagogues so that they could teach their wives and children. This means that your position, the reason why the women weren't allowed to ask questions or speak within the congregation had nothing to do with the fact that, you know, that the people that the men hated women or that the women didn't have understanding. It had to do with the fact that the man, the whoever was the teacher, whoever was the elder or was speaking at that time does not take the place of teacher from your husband. That position as teacher for you is already occupied. Elder Nathaniel is not your teacher. Your husband is. Taz is not your teacher. Your husband is. These lessons are to teach them so they can teach you. This preserves the respect and the reverence for the knowledge of the man within his household, as opposed to looking to another man to teach your house. You guys see how that could become an issue? Where it's like where you're teaching and they're like, well, such and such said this. It's like, well, dang, hold on. So you think I'm dumb? Hold on, right? The thing is, the thing is that the reason for this was to maintain the man's position as teacher and leader in his household. The lessons in the church were to teach him so that when you guys get home, he can teach you and he can teach his children. The children also were not allowed to speak in the church and must ask their fathers for knowledge. Keep in mind, the children were not even permitted to speak in the congregation until they were 12 years old. And even still, they could not, as far as it pertained to the law and judgments, they weren't allowed to speak till they were 20. So even the men, even the children, even the younger people, they weren't allowed to speak in the congregation. The reason for that was the same reason. Your covering is responsible for your education concerning the law and concerning the matters of life and of business. That happens at home. So it doesn't have much to do with the woman as it does with preserving the order of the man within the household. It preserves the respect and the reverence for the knowledge of the man within his household, as opposed to looking to another man to teach your house. That's why a man being able to teach or being apt to teach is important. If you can't teach, if you don't have an understanding of the doctrine or of the culture and traditions of your house, of the scriptures, of the Bible, of your people, then you can't teach your family. That means that guess what your wife is going to be doing? Asking another man that's not you, this is supposed to be you, for knowledge and information that you should have had. And guess who the wife respects? Guess who the woman respects? A man with knowledge who can lead her.